Hello, everyone. So I'm going to today to continue the summary of Discover Canada for preparation for a Canadian citizenship test. Before we start, I would like to remind you that if you would like to have this summary as a PDF, you can buy the PDF from the link under the video. And today we're going to focus on the summary of the Canada history part. And in this part, we have arranged the events into timeline, starting from a certain date until the end of the current time. So it is a logical sequence, so it is easy to remember. One note before we start that we have something called important, which is highlighted in green. So if you have a green rectangle or a green date like this one, this would be important date, and you have to remember it may came in the exam. And also a second note before we start is for names. If we have a name for a person, you don't have to remember the full name. You just need to remember the last name. So because actually, if you have multiple choice questions, the choices will not show the same last name twice. So you don't have to memorize the full name, just the last name. Okay, so we start with the first event here is in 1497. And it says that John Cabot. So here we just focus on Cabot. We don't need to focus on John. So Cabot actually drew the first map of Canada's east coast, or the first map of Canada ever, and it was drawn by Cabot in 1497. Okay, second event, we have another person here called Cartier, which made 3 voyages across Atlantic, and he found the Aboriginal people, he spoke with them, and he found a word in their own language called Kanata. And Kanata in the Aboriginal people language means village. So the meaning of this word is village, and this actually may come in the questions, multiple choice question. What's the meaning of Kanata? And it will be village, and from which actually our country name came from. It's Canada. So Canada has been converted to Canada, which we are using now. And the first trade ever in Canada was fur trade, and that's actually the famous trade for Aboriginal people. This fur trade, okay? And so now the European came from France and England will work also on fur trade, and there will be a challenge between the European people and the Aboriginal people, okay? And 1670, the King Charles II granted Hudson Pay. So the first company in Canada, which was Hudson Pay Company, it's a very famous company in Canada. The exclusive trading rights, and this makes a lot of problems with Aboriginal people because the company now is just competing with Aboriginal people there in their own trade and their own income, which is coming from the fur trade. And the next event will be 1758, which is the first representative assembly was elected where? In Nova Scotia. In which city? In Halifax. This can be also questions. So the first representative assembly, which is done through elections, was happened in Nova Scotia in 1758 in Halifax. Okay, and we have actually 3 very important battles in the history of Canada. The first one will be Plains of Abraham, and we will know why it is important. The second one will be the First World War, and the third one will be the Second World War. So if we have questions about wars, 90% it will come about these 3 battles. And the first battle, which was Plains of Abraham, and this is important because the British defeated French in this battle, and they ended the French Empire. So why it is important? Because the end of France Empire in America was through this empire. So now the British has the full control over North America. And this battle happened in Quebec City in 1759. And following this war, the Britain renamed the colony to province of Quebec. So the first province here appears in 1759 and was called province of Quebec. Okay, and now we have like the control with the British, and the minority is the French people, and the French people was actually Catholic, but they don't have any rights to practice their religion or to have their own churches or even to hold public offices in elections. You don't have all these rights until 1774, which the British people said, okay, we need actually to accommodate the minority French-speaking people, so we need to give them some rights. So they make something called Quebec Act. And Quebec Act was done in 1774. This date may be important. You have to remember it. And the Quebec Act gives 2 rights for the French-speaking people. First thing, allow them to to practice their Catholic, and they have their own churches. So it is a religion freedom. And the second thing, they provide them or permitted them to hold public offices and elections. So they have to practice political life in Canada. And a third thing, actually, also to restore the French civil law while maintaining the British criminal law. So actually, before this act, the law which was used in Canada was the British criminal law. But after the Quebec Act, they also considered the French civil law. So they merged the 2 laws together, the French civil law and the British criminal law. Okay. After that, in 1776, 3 British colonists to the south of Quebec declared independence and formed the United States. So now some of the colonists make an independence movement, and there were how many colonists? 3 British colonists. They said, okay, we will take the south and we'll make another country which is called United States. But a group of other British colonists, which actually they are loyal to the crown, the British crown, or to the queen or the king at this time, they said, no, we will continue, we will stay in North America, and they formed Canada, and they actually called Loyalists, because they are loyal to the crown. Okay. A very important date will be 1791, and in 1791 we have a special act which is called Constitutional Act. Constitutional Act, which is Constitution is the document which provides the laws for the country, and this Constitutional Act divided the province of Quebec. So at this time we have only 1 province, which is called the province of Quebec. It has been divided into 2 provinces, the Upper Canada, which is later Ontario, and Lower Canada, which is later Quebec. Okay, so now we have 2 provinces, Upper Canada and Lower Canada. And are also they provided the rights for legislative assemblies, which is elected by people, and Canada name also became official. So where the Canada name became official in the world map in 1791, as this can be a question in the exam. And the Atlantic Ocean, or the Atlantic colonists, plus the two Canadas, which is the Upper and Lower Canada, together was known as the British North America. The British North America. So now we have the British North America and United States in the south. So the British North America is Atlantic colonies plus the 2 provinces, which is the Upper Canada and Lower Canada. Okay, this all happened in 1791. Next event will be 1793. We have an important person here, Simcoe, John Simcoe. And John Simcoe was the first lieutenant governor. We know the lieutenant governor is the king or queen representative on the province level. So we know that we are loyal to the king or the queen, sovereign, the king or the queen of England, but they are in England. They are not in Canada. So we need to have representative. On the federal level, it is called general governor, but on the province level, it is called lieutenant governor. We are going to describe this when we speak about the government in Canada. But the first governor in Canada was called John Simcoe, and he was the lieutenant governor for Upper Canada. He also the founder of Toronto. So he is the man who constructed the Toronto city. Okay, another important thing for him, he made the Upper Canada the first province to abolish slavery. So the first province to abolish slavery is Upper Canada, and the exam in the exam you can have a question. The first province to abolish slavery, and then you have options, and in the option you may not have the Upper Canada, but you may have Ontario, because actually Upper Canada is Ontario, and Lower Canada at this time will be later Quebec. So that's why you have to focus on this. So in the multiple choice, you may have the Ontario as an option. So this will be the correct answer. Okay. The next event will be 1819. So actually, U.S. like the United States, they have some problems in trading with the Canadian Navy and the Canadian ships. So they said, okay, why not we just make an invasion and take Canada and like join Canada to United States, and it will be one country. So U.S. tried to make an invasion against Canada in 1812, and they actually burned the government house and the parliament in York, which is now Toronto. So the first thing is York actually is the old name of Toronto. And they burned the government house in Toronto in 1813, and they tried to invade Canada, but the Canadian forces, a group of soldiers with leader of Robert Ross, they tried to make a reverse attack against USA. They burned down the White House in Washington. And actually, the American attempt to conquer Canada failed, for sure, by the help of the British Army and the British forces. Okay, and the next step or the next event will be in 1832, which is the first financial institution which opened in Canada, which was the Montreal Stock Exchange. So this can be also a question in the exam. What is the first financial institution in Canada? That it was the Montreal Stock Exchange. Okay. The next event will be 1833. So now the slavery, anti-slavery movement continue. So the Polish slavery throughout the empire in 1833, and this is also an important date, can be say when actually the slavery has been abolished completely. It is in 1833, and now the slavery is still existing in USA, but it is now abolished or prevented in Canada. So a lot of slaves tried to escape from USA to Canada, and that was done through a Christian anti-slavery network called Underground Railroad. So the Underground Railroad, so they tried to escape from an underground path, which was under the railroad, and it was a Christian anti-slavery network, which helped a lot of slaves to escape from USA and to settle down in Canada. Okay, next event will be 1837-38. This was like a quick armed rebellion occurred to accelerate democracy, and so it will not. It doesn't have enough public support to succeed. This is like I don't think this is very important. But the important thing that in 1840 again, the lower and the upper Canada has been joined to be only one province. So the first time it was called province of Quebec. Then in 1791, the province of Quebec has been divided into two provinces, which is Upper Canada, later Ontario, and Lower Canada, which is later Quebec. But in 1840, again, they decided to join these two provinces into only one province and called it the province of Canada. Province with this number 2, and this number 3 here, province of Canada. And so they came back to be only one province in 1840. So we are done for today. Next time we're going to continue with the history part. I hope this will be helpful for you. So see you next time, and have a great day. Bye-bye.